Welcome, everyone, to the Crystal Starnes Show with your host and producer, Crystal Starnes. Today, I'm excited to announce that we are going to have this fabulous guest from California. He is representing Marilyn Monroe. He is the nephew of Marilyn Monroe, and his name is David Pease Monroe. Let's welcome David Monroe to the show. Hi, David. How are you?
Hi, guys. How you doing today? I'm doing absolutely fabulous. Not a cloud on the horizon, Crystal. Business is going off well as planned.
Awesome. I'm so happy you're here, and I'm excited to hear about, all that you're going to be talking about. I know you have an upcoming movie, and I'm just excited about all that you're doing.
Yes, it's absolutely fabulous. So I'll start out with some of my family lineage so people can understand how I'm her nephew. People say she had a nephew. No, she didn't have a nephew, did she? Okay, so I'm from Locker Center, California. And my grandfather, Jack Stubbs, was a legendary, prolific, pioneering Hall of Fame motion picture director. He was best of friends with Walt Disney, the man. And he was Mickey Rooney's booking agent and talent manager for years. Little Mickey had that, grand piano, and he did the drummer boy routine and things. And so back in the day, they didn't make a lot of money in motion pictures, but they made it in booking of those big, fancy red carpet sit-down dinners in the ballrooms in Vegas or in Manhattan on 42nd Avenue in Times Square, where he would book shows with the mob bosses, entertainment shows in Vegas, and rent those big ballrooms. And they would have these big, fancy gala sit-down dinners where all the other entertainers would come and have steak and lobster on the red carpet. You'd have Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack, the Shirelles at another table. You'd have the Temptations at another table. Another table, you'd have my Aunt Marilyn Monroe, Elizabeth Taylor, Judy Garland, Raquel Welch. Another table, you'd have like Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, Jimmy Durante, with a big schnoz, Jimmy Durante. He would be there. Those guys were full of energy. They did tremendous, entertainment projects, like in altruistic fashion of, comedy and song and dance routines mixed in. They were very entertaining. That was the golden age, pioneering era of entertainment. So the founding fathers of entertainment, or my grandfather, Walt Disney, and Charlie Chaplin, back in the day. So those fellows put on entertainment parties back then. All of the other big icons and players would come and attend. And it was just an absolutely fabulous, magnificent time that they would have back then. So that's how they made their money in booking of those big fancy sit-down dinners. And so Gladys Pearl, she was from Mexico, and her dad committed suicide, and then her son died. So she suffered from an impending mental illness from those traumatic situations that occurred in rapid succession in her life. So she would have conversations with her father, and people didn't understand that. They thought she was nuts. And back in the 20s and 30s, what they would do is they just lock you up somewhere and give you some medication. Oh, she'll be better. They didn't understand spiritual matters and things of that nature. So you can call it mental illness. You can call it a spiritual malady. I'm not going to claim anything except for what my grandparents told me that they heard in private conversations with their housekeeper. You see, Gladys Pearl, she used to clip film editing for a company down in Hollywood, and she had contacts in the motion picture industry. And they felt sorry for her because her daughter, Norma Jean, was going in and out of these foster care because she couldn't keep it together mentally. And so they thought, if we could get her like a live-in housekeeper job with an entertainment family somewhere, that would remedy their situation. She would have a stable place to live. And little Norma Jean, they could get custody of her back from the state, and they'll be okay. So they were referred to my grandparents through contacts in the motion picture industry. There was an agency as well that she had applied to for a housekeeping job. And, it just so happened through the influence of the motion picture industry and that agency that they were referred to my grandparents. So my grandmother hired Gladys Pearl, and she heard, Gladys' story. Gladys told her, my daughter in and out of these, foster care, and, I've got these mental problems. My dad, he committed suicide, and, I talked to him, and, I just have these terrible mental problems, that are extreme, and I can't really keep it together, And so they felt sorry for her. They said, well, don't worry, Gladys, we give you a stable place to live, and we'll adopt Norma Jean back from the state. And they did. And so Norma Jean lived in our home. She slept in the same bed with my mother when they were little girls, because they slept in the same room together, because, they didn't make a lot of money back then. They were, entertainers, but they didn't make a big dollar like they do now. So yeah, like my mom was, they were like sisters, inseparable. So anyhow, my grandparents, decided that Gladys Pearl kept having these bi-monthly mental breakdowns, and that she wasn't going to be able to keep it together. And so they envisioned, little Norma Jean going back in and out of these foster cares, and they felt terrible about the situation. And they said, well, we're going to remedy this. We're going to get this little girl that they've fallen in love with, her start in the motion picture industry. And they did. And they got her a contract with 20th Century Fox for 7 years. And the producers at 20th Century Fox, they looked at Monroe, Norma Jean, as a pinup girl, red, white, and blue, baseball, apple pie, and Chevrolet. And they didn't want, any of the, public could know about their pinup girl, that she had a tarnished, past, a mother with, mental illness and in and out of these foster cares and things. So they very carefully scripted and lied about Marilyn Monroe's history, her life history. And they've done that with many celebrities, changed many celebrities' names over the year, as her name was Norma Jean, changed to Marilyn Monroe. So that's how that went down. She got her start in the motion picture industry. So later on in my grandfather's career, Jack Stubbs, prolific, pioneering, Hall of Fame, legendary motion picture director, once again, best friends with Walt Disney, the man, Mickey Rooney's booking agent, talent manager, good friends with Charlie Chaplin, those guys back in the day. He started as a stagehand, then he went to set decorator, then he went to unit production manager, art director, and then assistant director of numerous pioneering projects, motion picture projects throughout the course of history and motion picture industry. Everything from Tor, the original bombing of Pearl Harbor, an American movie classic, the most accurate war film ever created in the history of motion pictures, to Conquest of the Planet of the Apes, to the creation of the original Captain America back in 1978, giving birth to the Marvel Universe on film, a legendary pioneering event. Look how many Captain Americas you have now. So my grandfather's projects, viewpoints, and opinions have been followed by Hollywood filmmakers to the tune of multi-trillions of dollars in profits from the box office on an international level. His viewpoints and opinions have created gainful employment for the entire entertainment community year in and year out for the past 100 years. So as he was working in his facilitation process, working all these different films from stagehand to director, on the 7-year itch, he worked in props. He was one of 2 prop makers in picking out the dresses and things. So Director Wildman told my grandfather, says, Jack, what do you think about Marilyn? He says, well, I think we should pick out a delightful dress. We should stand her on a subway in New York, Manhattan, blow the dress up as, the subway goes by, and show her skin and legs and drive the whole world bananas. And that's what they did. They said, Jack, that's a great idea. We're going to shoot that scene. Now go into wardrobe and pick out a dress. So he created the Delicious Breeze. It was his vision, and handpicking the dress becomes the most iconic, legendary image in film history, if not the most iconic, image in the world. Now, I'm like a talent scout as well. When I travel the country, I've traveled the country 5 times from East Coast to West Coast in the last 3 years. And there's not any town or establishment that I don't walk in some town, a barber shop or a tavern or something like that, where you don't see that image somewhere, my aunt in the dress. So, legendary image that was created by the hand of my grandfather. And many more numerous projects that he did over his career that were architecture for filmmakers. To give you an example, Tor, more of like a documentary. It gives the Japanese and American vantage points in the film. Those were, a lot of danger in those films. Those planes and Japanese Zeros, when they were to be shot out, when they were filming it, were loaded down with gasoline and live bombs with which to create a tremendous explosion. So that film in itself is a blueprint for Hollywood's war filmmakers, including Steven Spielberg. Guys like Spielberg study tour to get their viewpoints and opinions to create a magnificently accurate war film in Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks, another tremendously accurate war film. So you see those viewpoints and opinions that my grandfather created have been followed by legendary filmmakers all the way up to this day. They just made another Planet of the Apes movie. I released it, I think, last month. The Planet of the Apes, my grandfather had, he specialized in special effect, practical effects back in the day, like your Freddy Krueger movies, Nightmare on Elm Street and that. And what he did was he had a gorilla head mannequin, and he poured, melted molten rubber and made these masks. He made all of the gorilla masks and, all the wardrobe in that for all of the apes and extras in the film, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So that's what he specialized in, was that old school style special effects, practical effects that they used back in those days, before you had, you had like Castle Studios over in Burbank, the Unreal 5 engines and all of your AI films, which I am an AI films director, and I embrace the AI films because I can bring my Aunt Marilyn Monroe back to life on film with me in short films, and I can do a full-length feature film of all the icons if I wish in a film. And what's unique about me, Crystal, is my grandfather's, if you look at the printed version of his IMDb, the written version, if you go into his IMDb, you'll see that they're a mile long, they're all legendary, they're all pioneering, they're all big screen, they all won Academy Awards and Oscars. That is my intellectual property inherently to use and recreate in the Marilyn Monroe's Film Company. So yes, I'm the Marilyn Monroe's Film Company. I represent my Aunt Marilyn Monroe. I'm David Pease Monroe, and I'm a film director. And I'm creating the film Marilyn, the Truth Forever Monroe, that will have that information that I just told you about, Gladys Pearl, how she was our housekeeper, how, we got her to start the motion picture industry, a story that's never been told before. It's going to be a blockbuster project. The truth is going to come to the table. All of my family's projects are dedicated, and my projects are dedicated to restoration and preservation of our life-giving planet and its animals. This film is an awakening disclosure film series project. Excuse me. So the whole world can take a good look at the true information that is now being released to the public slowly through filmmakers like us. You see, there used to be this bifurcation in our government agencies in between the CIA, the FBI, the Pentagon, and the White House. And now in 2024, just here in January, they announced that Dr. Stephen Greer is a good friend of mine, and he has collaborating films that will, prove what I'm saying here, that the state has voted into the Pentagon's budget a special provision for full disclosure of top secret UFO builders, the military industrial complex, our shadow government, and extraterrestrial contact. You see, my Aunt Marilyn Monroe was dating the Kennedys, and she was disclosed information that she should not have been disclosed. She was an actress. And so her phone was tapped by the CIA, the FBI, the mob. She was married to Joe DiMaggio. She was, sleeping with the Kennedys, and she was disclosed information she shouldn't have. And so something, I'm not going to give away the entire film, but something happened in between the Kennedys and my Aunt Marilyn Monroe. And the Kennedys were at her home the night before she was found dead the next day. What we're going to do is we're going to bring proof into the film showing exactly how it happened, because it's all public information now. So we're going to bring, with that special provision that's been voted into the Pentagon in 2024. So we're going to bring this film to the table. It's going to be very captivating. It's going to be very emotional. And I'll tell you, as a personal human being with emotions, writing this film about the assassination of my Aunt Marilyn Monroe has been very painful for me. I have to relive her assassination on a daily basis as I treat my screenplay, Marilyn, the Truth Forever Monroe. But it's a fabulous project. And another facilitation of my entertainment is to show the world how I made my contact with the universe. And I did that in that I had a lot of trouble in alcohol. I was an alcoholic. A lot of tragedy happened in my life in rapid succession. I didn't feel comfortable in my own skin, so I kept pouring alcohol into my body to change the way I felt. Well, I discovered I was an alcoholic, and I had two choices. It was either a pine box, I'm going to go do the 12 steps of recovery, and they're going to work. So I went to AA. I met a man who'd known a spiritual experience, an old timer, 34 years clean and sober time. He said to me, Dave, I went up and got a 90-day chip at Rafters up in Newhall. And he said, Dave, congratulations on your 90 days. Well, while you were up at the podium, I was praying to God that you would ask me to be your sponsor. So with a little misgiving, I got his 34-year medallion of clean time. And I discovered he was a man with the real answer. And, I believe, they talk about in AA, that's a God shot. Well, that was a God shot because this man, Joseph Farr, come to find out, he's one of the founding fathers of AA in Santa Clarita. He started a men's crosstalk meeting at the Presbyterian Church in Newhall, and they still use the same placards that he built with his hand 20 years ago because I set up for the meeting. And that's a meeting that's not on the where and when. It's a private meeting. It's all old film producers and directors and people in the motion picture industry that know my grandfather. They know me. So we attend these private meetings together. And the 12 steps of recovery, what it was for me was just to write down my life story, word for word, honestly, share it with another man and pray about it. So this other man knows a spiritual experience. He's met the universe or whatever it is that guides the guiding force of our life, whatever you want to call it. I call it Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior, that I met through the rooms of AA and through this facilitation process. So I wrote down my life story, shared it with another man who knew this experience, and it was evident. The obsession to drink that had haunted me for 50 years, all that tragedy that happened in my life in rapid succession, all of those problems that I faced on a daily basis that made me emotional, they gave me nervous energy, they didn't make me feel good, uncomfortable in my own skin, causing me to drink uncontrollably, not knowing how to stop, wanting to stop, but not knowing how. For 50 years, hitting myself in the head with a hammer, thinking it felt good. As soon as I decided to go through with the process of the 12 steps of recovery, it worked. It's evident. I've been clean and sober since August the 7th of 2021. That obsession was lifted off of me overnight like a miracle. And it can for you as well. So I just wanted to relay and share my experience of how what I went through in life, my experience, my strength, and my hope. Got clean and sober. I don't watch the television. I don't watch news. I don't even barely watch my beloved Dodger games anymore because I don't want something coming in through that TV that's a big fat lie go into my eye and go into my mind and conceive sin in my heart. So I don't even watch the television. I'm on a spiritual journey. What I've done, what I'm doing is a spiritual journey. It's definitively inspired. It comes from the connection that I made with whatever you want to call it in AA. But there is something there because if there was no God, I would be under a bridge drinking right now, not being able to control it. That obsession was lifted off of me overnight, Crystal. That is a miracle. And it's happened for millions and millions of people. So I've discovered through the facilitation process of AA that it's not only good for drug and alcohol problems, but it is a design for life through rough going, because life is rough going. So you need some kind of guidance. You need something outside yourself that's going to help guide you through this life with all of these troubles and things that we have going on in our world. We need this connection for everyone more than ever in our world. So just sharing my experience of what had happened to me, what people can do, following that facilitation process. I'm sure they'll have varied results, but you can make a connection with the universe like I have, go on a spiritual journey. And it's led me into becoming an actor. I do stunts. I do radio broadcasting. I do promotions. I do podcasts. I have a television show coming up on Just TV. And I'm a paranormal investigator and a UFO hunter. And I have films, paranormal films, films recorded for proof and my records. I have pictures of extraterrestrial vehicles that I have photographed. Whatever you want to call them, aircraft, proof in my phone. I have films in my phone, proof. So everything that I say I do, that I just told you I do, and I have proof, and I have films, and I have records of all this. As I've traveled the country 5 times from East Coast to West Coast in the last 3 years. So I made 2 movies. I went to Indiana helped some guys with the Indiana Pro Boxing Hall of Fame open up a boxing gym for kids in Indiana, which is a great deal. Now I came back here to the Oscars. I met you, met all kinds of fabulous people, and I'm creating the film Marilyn the Truth Forever Monroe, which is casting about 80% of them are Hall of Fame legendary martial artists, which these men, the things that they put into the world through martial arts, helping kids with PTSD and autism and things like that. Some of these fellows that I've talked to have these, incredible stories about how they had children come into their dojo that had mental problems and, all kinds of PTSD. And in about 6 months, their whole life was straightened out. So I believe icons and iconic roles with icons to create the facilitation of the ideology of all these great performers and what we're doing here into the consciousness of society through a tremendously captivating film that will bring disclosure and truth to the world's entertainment table so everyone can see it. You could tell a person something, it'll go in one ear and out the other. But if you show it to them in a captivating form, that will make a change. So I'm all about change. Like I said, all my projects are dedicated to restoration and preservation of our life-giving planet and its animals. I have a website, which is http://visionforearth.com. And that has Greenpeace, it has animal refuge projects, it has electronic and solar remedies set in place with which to promote, create, and put into action that restoration and preservation of our life-giving planet and its animals. So it's a fabulous project, and we're putting it together. I've got all the grandchildren of Hollywood that were affiliated with my Aunt Marilyn Monroe, and did the photography of Marilyn Monroe that worked hand in hand with my grandfather on the 7-year itch. So this is actual real-life family members that are creating this film. It's not a fiction film, it's a fact film. For instance, Brad Pitt did The Blonde in 2022 for $22 million based on fiction. This film is based on fact, and it is being made by the family members of the participants in the project of my Aunt Marilyn Monroe. I'm her nephew. I've got the Barris family who did all the photography. I met them at her 98th birthday just a couple of days ago at Pierce Brothers Mortuary. We went to Denny's, we sat down, we had a powwow, we're collaborating. We have all the rights to all of Mr. Barris's photography. He did the last photo of Marilyn Monroe about 2 weeks before she was assassinated. So we're putting all of the original photography that we have, the copyrights and trademarks and everything on all of these images will be collaborated and included in the film, Marilyn the Truth Forever Monroe. So it's going to be a fabulous project, Crystal.
That's awesome. Wow, you're full of information. You're like a walking history manual, like everything.
Well, I want to tell you why this is glary, and I'm sitting out here underneath the tree in a park. I'm going to show the viewers. Okay, this tree right here is a couple of thousand years old. If you look over here, you'll see a Veterans Memorial, and in this park right here, that I just panned around with the camera and showed you, is where they filmed Fantasy Island with Ricardo Montalban. you know, and that big white tuxedo with tattoo. The plane, boss, the plane. You guys remember that show? This is the film set of Fantasy Island. This is where they filmed it, out here in this park. And it's right by Santa Anita Raceway. And so it has a lot of history and development and lineage to my family in the entertainment business, in that the rich Jewish families that own Santa Anita Raceway were big funders behind the projects my grandfather created, and a tremendous amount of Hollywood films throughout the years. So it's all connected. My grandfather, his brother or his sister's husband, my uncle, I was going to say brother, my uncle Don, he was an actor on Kojak with Telly Savalas, and also on Hill Street Blues. And so when Telly Savalas and my grandfather, they retired, they were big on ponies. And if you remember, Telly Savalas had a horse named Kojak that raced out here. And so my Uncle Don was a 50-50 owner with Telly Savalas of the Kojak horse. So they were good friends, offset family, and they were in the pony business together. And I love that you've got the horse project over there. It's perfect collaboration. So that's why I came out here to this park, to show you that my family is well connected. My whole family is well connected with ponies, Santa Anita Raceway, the funding behind the projects, and everything that goes behind the scenes in the facilitation of the motion picture industry has to do with me and my family. You know, there's other families, but that's my family and my personal experience that I wanted to share with everyone. That's why I'm sitting out here in the Fantasy Island Park. The plane, boss, the plane, tattoo the plane.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing all that. And I'm looking forward to your upcoming film.
Well, tell them who you're going to be playing the role of in the film.
I'm going to be playing Judy Garland.
Yes. Yes. Click your heels, Toto. We've got to get home to Kansas.
I love it.
Yeah, my grandfather did a tremendous amount of work with Judy Garland, Elizabeth Taylor, Raquel Welch, Dean Martin, George Kennedy, James Stewart, Bob Hope, Bing Crosby. The list goes on and on. My grandfather worked with everyone in Hollywood. So yeah, he's a legendary motion picture director, and I'm Marilyn Monroe's nephew, and we're bringing this project to the table. It's going to be absolutely blockbuster.
Well, thank you again for sharing, and just tell everybody your website again, so that way they can look you up.
Okay, my Facebook is David Pease, like peace on earth. David Pease promotes world peace. David Pease Monroe, and Monroe's my stage name, just like my aunt. David Pease Monroe is my Facebook. You can go to my Instagram and pick me up at Irish Dave 1111, and you can find me on Jess TV. You would type in Jess FM, JESSFM.ca, which is Jess TV, and you can pick me up live every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. on Jess TV. The show is entitled The Nephew. So you can tune in to The Nephew every Monday night at 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on Jess TV and see my live broadcast. My live broadcast will include all of the Hall of Fame legendary martial artists that are cast in my film. We'll be talking about their projects. We'll be talking about the upcoming film, Marilyn the Truth Forever Monroe, and the roles that they'll be playing in the film. So it'll be tremendously captivating as we build up into the film. Showing everyone's history, showcasing all of those men. And it's going to be a fabulous project. That's where you can find me, David Pease Monroe, Irish Dave 1111 on Instagram, and JESSFM.ca, Just TV, 7:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Well, thank you again for sharing all that, and I look forward to the upcoming film, and thank you for having me in the film. And I want to thank everybody out there for tuning in, and anyone that wants to come on the Crystal Starnes Show, you can go to crystalstarneshow.com and reach out there, and I will be in contact with you. And anyone out there looking for a nutritional supplement, I would suggest trying Relive. Relive's been around for 30 years, and you can find it at healthyfirstnow.com. Again, healthyfirstnow.com. Well, I hope everyone has a fabulous day. Take care, everyone. And thank you again, David, for coming on the show.
Okay, thank you, Crystal. God bless you. I'll see you soon.